concerning the real significance of the Arabic word Allah there has been much speculation and endless discussion among Muslim exegetes and lexicographers. The author of the Muhit el-Muhit dictionary, a Christian, says, Allah is the name of necessary being. There are 20 different views as to the derivation of this name of the Supreme. The most probable is that its root is ilah, the past participle form, on the measure fa'al, from the verb ilaho equals to worship, to which the article was prefixed to indicate the supreme object of worship. When we open the pages of Firozabadi, Baydhawi or Zamakhshari and read some of these 20 other derivations, we find ourselves at the outset before an unknown God. The intellectual difficulty was a real one to the Muslim exegete, as he must discover some root and some theory of derivation that is not in conflict with his accepted idea of God. Baydhawi, for example, suggests that Allah is derived from an invented root ilaha to be in perplexity, because the mind is perplexed when it tries to form the idea of the infinite. Yet more fanciful are the other derivations given, and the Arabic student can satisfy his curiosity in Baydhawi, Volume 1, pages 5 and 6. According to the opinion of some Muslim theologians, it is infidelity, kufr, to hold that the word has any derivation whatever. This is the opinion of the learned in Eastern Arabia. They say God is not begotten, and so his name cannot be derived. He is the first, and had an Arabic name before the creation of the words. Allah is an eternal combination of letters written on the throne in Arabic, and each stroke and curve has mystical meaning. Muhammad, they teach, received the revelation of this name and was the first to preach the divine unity among the Arabs by declaring it. This kind of argument is of one piece with all that Muslims tell us of the days of ignorance before the Prophet. But history establishes beyond the shadow of a doubt that even the pagan Arabs, before Muhammad's time, knew their chief God by the name of Allah and even, in a sense, proclaimed his unity. In pre-Islamic literature, Christian or pagan, ilah is used for any god, and al-ilah, contracted to Allah, i.e., the God, was the name of the Supreme. Among the pagan Arabs this term denoted the chief god of their pantheon, the Kaaba, with its 360 idols. Herodotus informs us, Lib 3, Cap. 8, that in his day the Arabs had two principal deities, Orotal and Alilat. The former is doubtless a corruption of Allah Ta'ala, God Most High, a term very common in the Muslim vocabulary. The latter is Al-Lat, mentioned as a pagan goddess in the Koran. Two of the pagan poets of Arabia, Nabiga and Labid, one used the word Allah repeatedly in the sense of a supreme deity. Nabiga says, Diwan, Poem I, verses 23, 24, Allah has given them a kindness and grace which others have not. Their abode is the God, Al-Ilah, himself, and their religion is strong, etc. Labid says, neither those who divine by striking stones or watching birds know what Allah has just created. 2. Ash-Shabrastani says of the pagan Arabs that some of them believed in a creator and a creation, but denied Allah's prophets and worshipped false gods, concerning whom they believed that in the next world they would become mediators between themselves and Allah. And Ibn Hisham, the earliest biographer of Muhammad whose work is extant, admits that the tribes of Kanana and Quraysh used the following words when performing the pre-Islamic ceremony of Ilal.1: We are present in thy service, O God. Thou hast no partner except the partner of thy dread. Thou ownest him and whatsoever he owneth. As final proof, we have the fact that centuries before Muhammad the Arabian Kaaba, or temple at Mecca, was called Bait Allah, the house of God, and not Bait al-Alad, the house of idols or gods. Now if even the pagan Arabs acknowledged Allah as supreme, surely the Hanifs, that band of religious reformers at Mecca which rejected all polytheism and sought freedom from sin by resignation to God's will, were not far from the idea of the unity of God. It was Henotheism too in the days of paganism, and the Hanifs led the way for Muhammad to preach absolute monotheism. The Quran often calls Abraham a Hanif and stoutly affirms that he was not a Jew or a Christian. Surahs 2:129, 3 hours 60 minutes, 89, 6:162, 16:121, etc. Among the Hanifs of Muhammad's time were Waraka, the Prophet's cousin, and Zayd bin Amr, surnamed the Inquirer. Both exerted decided influence on Islam and its teaching. Noldeek thinks Muhammad was in doubt as to which name he would select for the Supreme Being and that he thought of adopting Ar-Rahman, the Merciful, as the proper name of God in place of Allah, because that was already used by the heathen. Ramana was a favorite Hebrew name for God in the Talmudic period and in use among the Jews of Arabia. 1 On the Christian monuments found by Dr. Edward Glaser in Yemen, Allah is also mentioned. The Surwa inscription, AD 542, opens with the words, "In the power of the All-Merciful and His Messiah and the Holy Ghost," which shows that, at least in Yemen, Arabian Christians were not in error regarding the persons of the Trinity. One other term often used for Allah we will have occasion to study later. It is the word Samad, the Eternal, and seems to come from the same root as Samud, the name of an idol of the tribe of Ad and mentioned in the poem of Yazid bin Sa'ad. 3 Hobal, the chief god of the Kaaba, and whom Dozy identifies with Baal, one is, strange to say, not mentioned in the Quran. Perhaps he was at this period already identified by the Meccans with Allah. This would explain Muhammad's silence on the subject. We thus are led back to the sources from which the Arabian prophet drew his ideas of Allah, namely, as for all his other teaching, from Arabian paganism, Talmudic Judaism and Oriental Christianity. Islam is not original, not a ripe fruit, but rather a wild offshoot of foreign soil grafted on Judaism. It will not surprise us, therefore, if its ideas of God are immature and incomplete. The passages of the Quran that teach the existence and unity of God, Allah, are either those that refer for proof of His unity to creation, Surahs 6:96-100, 16:3-22, 21:31-36, 27:60-65, etc., or state that polytheism and atheism are contrary to reason, Surah 23:119, or that dualism is self-destructive, Surah 21:22, or bring in the witness of former prophets, Surahs 30:29, 21:25, 39:65, 51:50-52. The dogma of absolute monotheism is held forth first against the pagan Arabs as, example, in Surah 71:23, where Noah and Muhammad agree in condemning the idols of antediluvian polytheists. Said Noah, "My Lord, verily they have rebelled against me and followed him whose wealth and children have but added to his loss, and they have plotted a great plot and said, Ye shall surely not leave your gods, ye shall surely neither leave Wad nor Suwa nor Yagath nor Uokain nor Nasr, and they led them astray," etc. But this dogma is no less aimed at the Jews whom the Quran accuses of deifying Ezra, Surah 9:30, and Christians who believe in the Trinity. This Trinity Muhammad misunderstood or misrepresented as consisting of Allah, Jesus, and the Virgin Mary. 2 The deity of Christ is utterly rejected, Surahs 19:35, 36, 351, 52, 43:57-65, 519, etc., and his incarnation and crucifixion denied, although not his miraculous birth, Surahs 19:22-24, 3:37-43, 47-50, 4:155, 156. The word Allah is called by Muslim theologians Ismul that, the name of the essence, or of the being of God. All other titles, even that of Rab, Lord, being considered Ismul Sifat, i.e., names of the attributes. In this first name, therefore, we have, barren though it be, the Muslim idea of the nature of God apart from His attributes and creation, in accordance with the motto at the head of this chapter, although at the same time in sharp contrast with Christian ideas of the Godhead. As is evident from the very form of the Muslim creed, their fundamental conception of Allah is negative. God is unique, as well as a unit, and has no relations to any creature that partake of resemblance. The statement in Genesis that man was created in the divine image is to the Muslim blasphemy. Allah is defined by a series of negations. As popular song has it, whatsoever your mind can conceive. That Allah is not, you may well believe. Muhammad, outside of the Koran, was silent regarding the nature of God's being. For while traditions have been handed down in abundance which give the responses of the Prophet to inquiries concerning prayer, almsgiving, fasting and pilgrimage, there is not one having reference to the being and attributes of God. This is a fact acknowledged by all those most profoundly versed in traditional lore. The great imams are agreed regarding the danger and impiety of studying or discussing the nature of the being of God. They, therefore, when speaking of Allah's being, fall back on negations. The idea of absolute sovereignty and ruthless omnipotence, borrowed, as we shall see, from the nature of Allah's attributes, are at the basis. For the rest, his character is impersonal, that of an infinite, eternal, vast monad. God is not a body. God is not a spirit. Neither has God a body, nor has he a spirit. The Imam al-Ghazali says, Allah is not a body endued with form, nor a substance circumscribed with limits or determined by measure. Neither does he resemble bodies, as they are capable of being measured or divided. Neither is he a substance, nor do substances exist in him, neither is he an accident, nor do accidents exist in him. Neither is he like anything that exists, neither is anything like him. His nearness is not like the nearness of bodies, nor is his essence like the essence of bodies. Neither does he exist in anything, nor does anything exist in him. 1. The words "there is no God but Allah" occur in Surah Muhammad, verse 21, but the surah which Muslims call the Surah of the Unity of God is the 112th. According to tradition, this chapter is Muhammad's definition of Allah. Baydhawi says, Muhammad, on him be prayers and peace, was asked concerning his Lord, and then this surah came down. Zamakhshari says Ibn Abbas related that the Quraysh said, O Muhammad, describe to us your Lord whom you invite us to worship, then this surah was revealed. As a specimen of Muslim exegesis, here is the surah with the comments first of Baydhawi and then of Zamakhshari. The words of the Quran are put in italics and the translation is literal. 1. Say, He is God. 1. God is the predicate of He is, and one is an apposition to it or is a second predicate. God is eternal, samad, that is, God is He to whom men betake themselves for their needs. He does not beget, because of the impossibility of His homogeneousness. And is not begotten, because of the impossibility of anything happening concerning Him. And there is not to Him a single equal, i.e., equivalent or similar one. The expression to Him is joined to the word equal and precedes it because the chief purpose of the pronouns is to express the denial. And the reason for putting the word single last, although it is the subject of the verb, is that it may stand separate from to Him. The idea of Baydhawi seems to be that even in the grammatical order of the words there must be entire and absolute separation between Allah and creation. Zamakhshari interprets likewise as follows: God is one, unified, unique in His divinity, in which no one shares, and He is the one whom all seek since they need Him and He needs nobody. He does not beget, because He has none of His own genus and so possesses no female companion of His own kind, and consequently the two of them propagate. This is indicated by God saying, how can there be offspring to Him and He has no female companion? 1 And He is not begotten. Because everything born is an occurrence in a material body. God, however, is ancient, there is no beginning to His existence and He is not a body. and he has no equal, i.e. no likeness or resemblance. It is allowed to explain this of companionship in marriage and to deny a female consort, too. This, then, is the definition of the essence of God, according to the Koran and the best commentaries. How far such negations come short of the sublime statements of Revelation: God is a spirit, God is light, God is love.